this is Bruce N6THN here in Wacky Vackyville.
I'd like to introduce our friend, and yours too, Bruce N6THN. Take it away, Bruce. You guys are supposed
How
to go.
many of you guys recognize what this is and this is? And they go together like this. There we go. Powerpole. 125 amps right there. So what is the big hubbub about power poles? Why do you hear that Aries and Races uses them so much? What's the big deal? How come you just don't go to the store and buy Cinch or Amphenol or some other Molex or one other kind of connector? What's the deal? Well, look at the chart up here in the top corner. They're molded with dovetails, so they fit together. That's one thing. So they've got little dovetails, male, female dovetails, and one of them might be a rabbit. And then my woodworking. The next line right here, if the connection is broken under load, there's usually an arc that destroys most connectors. But this one, the arc is confined to the tip area right here instead of the contact area. So when you pull it apart, a destructive arc happens, but it doesn't destroy power poles because it's designed to arc in a goofy spot that's not important. The next one, power poles are great because they have a detent that keeps the connectors mated super duper where they just don't fall apart. So you hear that click? That is a detent. That means it goes over center and hooks. So it's got a clip. So that's the detent and the disconnect. The next thing they have is a stainless steel spring, which is this thin, flat thing right here. Stainless steel, it's rust proof, and it keeps constant pressure on the contact. So that's 4 great things about power poles. Okay, rugged polycarbonate casing, okay. Okay, this one's important, really important. The telephone company guys know about this. The wiping action on make and break keeps the surfaces clean. So the telco folks figured out that oxidation will start building up on contact points unless you wipe them or move them slightly. So power poles have this automatic wiping property. And of course I can't find the one I want to show you. It's over there. But can you grab me that red wire with the big connector on it? Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Sorry I wasn't prepared. The wiping part is this rounded surface touches this other rounded surface, and they go over center, and they end up going like that. And then this wiping cleans, yep, and so you, burnish is another good word, and it keeps the resistance low. So the wiping action, I see a hand, Brian? Okay, Brian said unless you just open them and close them once in a while, the contacts tend to oxidize, so it's good to work them, exercise them a little bit to keep them shined up. And that's good. That fixes it. And believe it or not, the contacts are silver-plated copper. So there's some silver all over this one and every other one that you buy. Silver-plated. That reduces the resistance. I don't know if I should tell this joke or not, but the superconductor goes into the bar, and then the bartender says, "Get out of here, superconductor. We don't serve you." So the superconductor left without resistance. Didn't touch. Okay, I won't tell that one. Okay. When you go to the Anderson Powerpole website, you're deluged with all these choices. What do you want? Connectors, chargers, meters, fuses, panel mounts, power supplies, adapters, crimping tools. You're like deluged. Where do I start? So you start by figuring out what amperage do you want to handle. Like, are you starting a diesel truck with a 350 amp, or a big inverter, or a generator with 175, or mediocre like a linear amp at 50 amps? And then it goes up to 75 amps on this medium plug. But the ones that we always use in the ham radio are these 45s, 30s, and 15s. And believe it or not, 45, 30, and 15 are all interchangeable. They all have the same surface area. They all have the same mating surface to touch. The difference on 30, 15, and 45 is the crimp sleeve on the back, which I'll get into. It's just the wire size. The current capacity is all interchangeable. You can plug a 15 into a 45 and backwards and every other way. So how do you get started? This is how you get started. You buy these housings, which are about 39 cents a piece. So you buy these housings with the spring inside of them, and you buy these little contacts. And these are 30 amp contacts, silver plated. So that's how you start. And this is what you're shooting for. They've cut a plug in half, so you see the internal stainless steel spring pushing down on the contact. You see your wire stripped and crimped in the crimp sleeve right there. And you see the little hook going in front of the spring so it hooks and doesn't want to pull out. So that's what you're shooting for on a perfect crimp. And this is another cutaway view that the contact must go in fully, that this little hook goes in fully and the spring catches it. So it goes in, but it can't come out. It goes in, but the spring catches on a little relief in there, and you can't get them out because you don't want them to fall out. So this would be a properly crimped pair, and I'm going to keep stressing, red goes on the right, and I'm talking about this red. This red is crimped with the rounded part up, and it ends up going on the right. Just remember, red on the right, red on the right. That's your mantra, red on the right. Red on the right, and push it in till it clips. It clicks. This one shows the same stuff you've already seen, except for the roll pin. This is a little tiny metal roll pin that goes into a little tiny hole, and that prevents these from sliding, so it's kind of a locked device. So this is how you get started. Most people foul up when they're doing power poles by getting them inserted in the wrong color, or they flip the colors the wrong way. So you just got to align yourself. Red on the right and the little rounded part up, and these are ready to snap together right now, just as you see it. If you've stripped your wire, crimped it, and you got your sleeves laying on the table, and you lay your wire down, with the red on the right, so you just get yourself all oriented just right. You're going to do it in. You're not going to blow up your radio. It's going to be wired correctly, and it's going to be universal. So this is just another picture. Red on the right with the tongue on top. Red on the right with the tongue on top. Red on the right with the tongue on top. It took me so long to get this, but I kept getting a picture, and then finally I got it going. Red on the right with the tongue on top. And then, so how do you do it? How do you get your parts? Well, these are the 15 amp contacts. These are 15 amps, and they're made for wire gauges 20, 16, and 18. So you buy these for 16 cents a piece, and you're ready to wire some wire. You say, what if I want to run 30 amps? Well, then you buy the 30 amp ones, and believe it or not, they're a penny cheaper. They're 15 cents a piece. So now your investment is 15 and 15 and two 39-cent housings, unless you buy them in a box like this. And then you ask, well, what if I want to do, these are the prices. What would 10 sets cost me? So 10 sets is $40 pieces because it's black and white. 10 sets would cost you $10.99 at this website. So then you say, well, what if I want to run something heavy duty like 45 amps? So you pick these, and you notice these are not rounded connectors, they're U-shaped. You actually lay the wire into the U groove, and you put it on the biggest slot in this crimper with the U pointing up, and you go, you ratchet it down, and then, I didn't mean to do that to the mic. Away you go, 45 amps, and now you're running your heavy duty stuff. So here is a typical ratchet, $39, and it's got a jaw in it for 15, 30, and 45. And it's a full action tool. If you get started, you can't back up. You just got to continue in until it clicks, and then it pops open. So I'll go over the ratchet coming up. Now, for the first time I bought these Powerpoles, I cheaped out and bought the $20 crimper, which is here, which is up there on the screen. And it works. It does 15, 30s, and 45s. It works. And it's got cutters up there. But this one, for $39, really closes in the crimp sleeve really good, and they don't pull out, and it looks really nice. So that's a close-up of this tool right here. I got as zoomed in as I could. So you see, you put the little crimp tool in the 15 amp jaw. They call that thing a jaw or a die. And then you go over to the 30 amp. These in my hand are the 30 amp jobs. So I'll get a couple out. So that little thing right there holds a 12 gauge wire. And the other little thing right there is your silver contact. And I'll show you how those work here in a second. And remember, red on the right. Did I mention that? Red on the right? Okay. Unless I forgot. So look at this table here. You got to really pay attention to this. If you have a 15 amp contact, you want to run 16, 18, or 20 gauge wire. That's what this 15 amp contact accepts. It'll go up to 45 amps, but the wire size is small. And the wire might burn up on you if you use that high a current. So then on the 30 amp contact is the one I'm holding. The 30 amp accepts two wire sizes, 12 and 14 is how you read that. And the 45 amp contact accepts 10 gauge, which is this. This is 10 gauge, stranded. 10 gauge or 12 gauge. And that goes into this jaw. And you see that hump up there, the metal goes up, hits that hump, and curls back down like a heart shape and squeezes into the wire, and it won't pull out. Now let's say you're like me. When I first learned this, I made a lot of mistakes. I put them on wrong. I put the dovetail on the wrong side of the rabbit, and I got these things all cockeyed. This is an extraction tool. This is an extraction tool where you can pull the pins out if you make a mistake. Other thing is, if you no longer use this cord anymore and you want to repurpose these little connectors, you can use the extraction tool and take them apart. Now I found this small screwdriver works pretty good as my extraction tool. It goes in there and pops the spring down, and but the $10 extraction tool is the one they want you to use. So what do? You buy a kit of these? Do you want to experiment? What do? Well, this is a 150-piece kit pictured, and it talks about 150 pieces, and it gives you a variety of 15, 30, and 45, and it has 20 red housings down at the bottom, 20 black housings, 40, 30 amp, and 16, 15 amps, and so on. That comes in a kit. So you notice the label on that looks almost exactly like the label on this. It's because I bought this package from this company. This is the 30 amp kit, so I didn't get the variety pack. I just got the 30 amp because I didn't want to use 15. So you pop open the lid, and you get all your housings, your roll pins, and your connectors. So here's a bigger kit, 300 pieces for 99 bucks. It's getting pricey. So if you convert a whole bunch of stuff, it gives you 40, 40, 80 of each list. You can work down, and they give you an extraction tool. And if you want to be cool at field day, you can buy this kit, which is the kit, the crimper, and the toolbox for 99 bucks. And you look really cool. You put your call sign on here. And so I'm the Powerpole dude. I do not have the toolbox or the tote bag. Now, wire. This big roll is 10 gauge, stranded. This medium roll is 12 gauge, and I brought a roll of 12 gauge. That's really flexible. House wire, when you try to bend a piece of house wire, it's really stiff. It's only got 7 strands. This is really flexible. They use really flexible plastic. And it makes great jumpers. I skipped ahead there. This wire makes great flexible jumpers to radios and stuff. I've got my 7300 hooked up right now to the power supply on the floor with this real flexible stuff. So then you go, well, sometimes I put a power pole on one end of a piece of wire, but I need a lug to go on my other end of the wire. So they got you covered. You buy this kit full of lugs, butt splices, spade lugs. These are called I-rings because they're a circle. But anyhow, O'Reilly has these. AutoZone has them. Walmart has them. Napa Auto Parts has them. You don't have to buy them from this website. But anyhow, there's the Spade Connectors. Those are their open ones. And then the I-rings. And then I'm sure all you guys know this, but for 12 gauge, you use the yellow ones. For 14 gauge, you use the blue ones. And for 16 gauge, you use the red ones. So that's why they aren't just Christmas colors there. They're colored for a reason. And here's the big ones. These are the 350 amp jobs. You can get them in any color you want, but they're pricey. They work with 2-aught. See down here, 2-aught. That means going down from 4 gauge to 2 gauge to 0 gauge to double 0 gauge. So it's 2 zeros. That's what 2-aught means. 350 amps. That'll start your Detroit diesel. All right, here's your colorful housings. Usually the red ones, I told you, they're 37 cents. The black ones are 37 cents. Blue and green, 39 and so forth. So you can color code some of your wires. If you have a specialty piece of wire you want to color code, you can do that. And these are the medium-sized connectors, the 120 amp jobs. 120 amps. These run about 10 bucks a piece. And the super big I-rings, these are 30 amp I-rings, but when you're talking about 350 amps, these terminals go up to 4-aught. That means 4 sizes below 0. It gets big. Big, 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 big. So you're in an RV and you need to shut off your battery. So you put this end on your battery post, and this is an on-off switch, and then you put your battery cable here that you want to interrupt. So you do a 225 amp switch right here. How do you just turn off your whole station? You flip this switch. So this clamps to your battery. All your accessories clamp here, and you flip this lever on and off. And then they came out with these voltmeters that look kind of like this. But the one on the screen is lit up. And and I've got one demonstrating over there in that Go kit on top. Anyhow, these voltmeters, I've seen them on eBay for 20 bucks. On this website, since they have the 150 amp connectors on them. You know, they're $69, but I think I paid $25 for this one. See, no connector. No connector. It's got an in and an out. Hook your battery here, hook your load over here, and then it tells you how much juice you're putting out. And then you ask, can I put power poles on my meter? And I'll answer that, yes, I put these power poles on this other meter. Plug it into your universal supply, plug it into whatever you're measuring. Solar panel can go here, this can go out here. And it tells you watt hours, tells you a bunch of stuff on that display. They'll be happy to take your money. And then these are a bunch of variety of more meters. I won't stay on them too long. Okay, how do you break out power? Now that you've got power out of your cigarette lighter in your car, and you got one plug, how do I break that out to run more than one thing? Well, you buy a power distribution block, this thing. So you plug in your source of juice to one of those, and the rest of them become hot. So that's a 4-position one. For the ham radio guy that wants everything, this is a 12 radio distribution. So how many of you guys have 12 radios on the bench? Oh, okay, we see some hands. Then you're gonna have to buy 2 of these. All right, Ruff said, see these little black things that look like mouse doo-doos here in this bag? I got 4 of them. Those are the roll pins. He says he, instead of using the roll pins, he puts a drop of super glue in between the connectors that slide, and it acts just as strong as the roll pin does. So they don't come out on you, which is good. That's good news. Now here's a guy who has a lot of time on his hands. Over here on the left, he's got his input. See where my mouse is? That's his input. These go to all his radios. This daisy chains to the next box. So you can have box after box after box along this table, all run off one battery. But it's a little crazy, but he's got a 30 amp fuse in here, and this is 15, 10, 10, and so on. But I think he's got 7 positions here. This is a daisy chain out to the next box, and he can do this as far as he can as long as he doesn't overload it. This is the input. This is the 30 amp fuse, the green one, the blade fuse. And then he's got LEDs down here to show if one of the fuses blows, the lights light. And then he shoves, like he's got another buddy down the table from him, like down to Kevin. So Kevin hooks up his plug to this one, and on and on and on the story goes. Once you get your power poles, you got to figure out stuff to use them for. So when you get them and you have eye rings, like the top one is eye rings. These are eye rings. And Doug, did you have a question?
How long have these been around? They never taught me that in high school.
Well, back when cars had cranks.
They were made out of wood.
After you've crimped on your power poles on this end, you need to put something on this other end to be proud of your cable. So here's some eye rings. Eye rings. Here are some bananas to power pole, like the second example. There's some, for the third example, stripped and tinned. Well, I went a step farther and put clip leads on. And the last one, power pole to RCA, I haven't had a need for that yet, so I skipped doing that one. This is the inside of my trailer, and this is my ham radio bench. It's all of about 19 inches wide and 12 inches deep. This is where I get to put that thing, my ham radio, in my trailer. This is where my Anderson Powerpoles are if you're following the mouse. The Andersons are over here. The capacitor and voltmeter is down here for surges and ripple. And my sine wave inverter is here. And this is a 12-volt refrigerator, all running off Anderson. So I'll show you all that. That's the top view. When I go into the trailer, I only need to hook up two things. This power cord and that coax. And then I am on the air. That, you all know where that goes. And you see this is the main juice in, just two wires. The rest of this stuff goes to an 8-way splitter. I have a Anderson 8-way splitter down here. So the powered speaker gets juice, the amp, the radio, everything gets juiced. The meter, the swirl meter, the radio's on. And just to show you something that was on the air today, I'm going to show you something that was on 20 meters.
Go ahead, sir. Yeah, the name is Daryl, located on Oahu. You got a big signal here, 5 and 9.
Oahu.
Just 20 meters has gotten really, really long, so that's the reason for Hawaii. Thanks so much for calling, Daryl. I'll give you a report on next number, go ahead.
The other guy's in Florida.
Correctly in the logbook as well. We're located on Oahu, about 20 miles from the Honolulu airport over here on the windward side of the island over. QSL, Daryl, the call sign is Kilo Mexico 4, Papa Oscar Papa. QSL? Yeah, KM4 Pop, got it, and fine business on that. So just thought we'd give you a holler, just put up our antenna. We actually made some changes to the antenna, so hopefully 20 will be open tonight. QSL there, well, it looks like 5-8 for you here in Florida. I'm in Florida, okay? Yeah, copy the 5-8. My antenna's looking north, so that sounds about right, over.
All right.
QSL.
Florida, I recorded that today. I had this on the antenna today, just messing around. And and I heard these two guys talking on 20, Florida talking to Oahu, 20 miles away.
We're using a dipole, a verted V? Or
Dipole, just dipole. Just simple 2 pieces of 12-gauge wire. And anyhow, referring to that, that's all I had to hook up, is this red and black and this. And it was really quick for you emergency service people. You just carry that to any location in a house, to a power supply, to a battery, to your trailer, to all these jumpers, to a generator, and you're on the air. Put up a piece of wire for an antenna, and away you go. So that's a picture of the capacitor. It's got a voltmeter, and the capacitor is to keep ripple off my system in the trailer. This is a picture of the solar panel system I put in. It's showing about 14 volts, 0 amps, and it's got a 30 amp controller over here, and that's underneath the table. This is like my power strip. So solar panels come in up here, batteries come up here on 10-gauge wire. This is all 10-gauge stuff. Down here is 4 sets of power poles. You can't count them all, 1, 2, 3, 4, but they're back there. So one goes to the refrigerator, one goes to the ham radio, one goes to the capacitor, and I've got one spare for accessories. And here's the inverter hooked up with power poles. So I chopped off these leads that came with the inverter. They were 6 feet long. I made them down to about 18 inches long. I put on power poles, something like this. Put on power poles, and now I've got a sine wave inverter sitting there to run stuff.
how about noise from the inverter? Does it give you any noise?
Yeah, it's a little noisy on HF. It's absolutely quiet. It's the inverter's there for charging cell phones, running the wife's TV, and such like that. Does anyone want to see the making of a power pole, or do you pretty much get it? I want to see it. You want to see it? You got it? Okay. All right. Let's switch to the camera. Is the camera on right now? Yep. All right. First, cut wire to desired length. Make sure wire is not energized.
That's too short for my band.
Strip back a little bit of wire. Measure measure from the tip of this wire to the back of this sleeve and mark it with your thumbnail. Can y'all see that okay? Am I in the camera view? Kevin set up the fantastic cameras, by the way. Strip wire. Repeat process on red wire. It's about 1/4 inch. I'm not gonna fool anybody. It's not hard. Twist wires in circular pattern. Twist wires. Now remember, does anyone remember which way the red wire goes? This way or this way? Yeah, red on my right. And then the next thing is the little bumpity bump needs to go up. Bumpity bump up. Bumpity bump goes up. Did I mention that? All right. This part's kind of important. The position of the contact should be straight up after you crimp it. So I'm going to hold it down on the table, and so it is pointing straight up. So I'm trying not to lose that orientation. I'm trying not to. Now there's a hole in the jaw, and of course the camera can't see this. Can it or can it? So I've got the red on the right with the tip up. And, oh man, look at that.
Felt good.
Whew, what a release. Wow. I'm going to try for number 2. Oh, I thought we were pressed for time. Okay, red on the right, black on the left, both contacts pointing up.
Wow.
Okay.
You might want to look at that mole.
Don't move.
Okay. This one is crimped. Can you see the big valley in the top? Barbara Stanwyck, big valley. Okay, there it is. And then this one is all totally round, and it could slide right off of there. So it's no good. But this one, you can't pull it off with a truck. It's part of the metal. All right. So you prepare your thing, and being prepared like a Boy Scout, you go, all right, red on the right, tongues up, slip it in to the jaws, and I'm sorry you can't see this.
It receives it to a stop point.
Yes, there's a stop.
Hold it still.
Okay, red's on the right, tongues up.
Yeah, that's good.
Now, if I can do this.
Single hand.
Oh, good thing I've been working out. Now, down here. Let's see how I did. Hey, they're both pointing up. Amazing. Amazing. Now, here's your sleeve action. The spring has to go up and red on the right. So let me put them together. Let me see if I can put them together. So I got to look at this. Okay, I want them to come out with red on the right with the spring up. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to plan for that. Now there's my dovetail and my rabbit. Dovetail and rabbit. Okay. Okay, now the dovetail goes in to the rabbit. Whoa! Now you can't get those things apart. They are frozen together. Sometimes better with super glue. All right. Now, Red on the right. We want this to come out like this. Red on the right, tongues up. So am I in the frame now?
Yeah.
All right.
Here goes.
Here goes. The insertion. Sometimes it's tough, but listen for the click. Of course, we're on camera. It's being tough. It clicked, believe me. Jason, try to pull this off.
Can't do it.
It's on there. Let's see if it lines up with previous cables that have been in service. Let's see if it mates. Am I in the right in frame, Kevin?
No, you are.
Let's see if this new cable I just made mates with a previous cable. Oh, look at that. Looks like it's going to go. Polarity's right. I think it made it, and it snapped. There's 30 amps going through 30 amps. Red on the right. Tongues up. There is a clip that goes from here and bridges to here, like a horseshoe. And then even Superman can't pull these apart. Now, that's the end of my presentation.
And have a good night. Thank you for coming.